Classical liberalism is an ideology that's based on individualism. The principles of classical liberalism began to evolve during the Enlightenment and the Industrial Revolution. It primarily focuses on a limited government, individual freedom, private property, the rule of law, and a free market economy. Before classical liberalism, society revolved around absolute monarchies, where kings and queens restricted individual freedoms and rights. Monarchs made decisions based on what they believed would benefit them rather than their citizens. With the emergence of new ideas, people began to develop their own ideologies, thus overthrowing the idea of absolutism. As a result of classical liberalism, the rule of law was developed. It laid out a set of rules that all citizens were required to follow, meaning that everyone was equal before the law. This protected citizens' rights and freedoms and prevented absolute monarch control. Mercantilism was replaced by laissez-faire capitalism, which is a policy that believes in limited government intervention within the free market. It was common between the 18th and 19th century, during the Industrial Revolution. Laissez-faire capitalism promoted competition, private property, and self-interest. One of the principles of free market capitalism is private property. Individuals have the right to own property such as land, goods, products, and businesses. During the Industrial Revolution, individuals had privately owned mines and factories. They profited off of what they produced and were able to control methods of production and who they were producing for. In general, private property gave individuals economic freedom, as the government wasn't involved. Competition is another principle of free market capitalism. Businesses and individuals would compete, which would result in the creation of new products and services, and resources would be used in an efficient way. Consumers benefited from competition as well, as there was a decrease in the price of goods and services. Self-interest is the idea that individuals should look out for their own interests, and as a result, the economy would prosper. For example, during the Industrial Revolution, factory owners would make decisions based on increasing their wealth over the benefit of their workers. This could be considered a good thing as their decisions would indirectly affect their company. The company would gain more profit, there would be more jobs available, and they would be able to provide more goods and services. Classical liberalism brought individual rights and freedoms such as the freedom of speech, the right to vote, freedom of association, and the freedom of religion. New technology was created during the Industrial Revolution as a result of classical liberalism. People invented things that would improve the production rate of certain goods. For example, the spinning jenny was used for textile production and could be operated by workers with no prior skill level. Thus, advancements in technology created employment opportunities for people as well. There was little government intervention, which meant that workers could easily be exploited, and there was a lack of welfare programs. If a factory worker was injured, they would receive no compensation, as the government didn't have rules in place to enforce this. Child labor was a common practice during the Industrial Revolution. Children would work long hours in unsafe conditions and would be paid less than adults. It's thought that they were paid 10% to 20% less than adults. Children were hired because they were easier to control and because they could fit in tighter spaces. People were desperate for jobs at the time and would accept any job. As a result, they would work in factories or mines where they were paid low wages, worked in unsafe conditions, and had little workplace rights. Although there was an increase in jobs, there still weren't enough jobs for some people. This is because the demand for jobs had increased and people would compete to get jobs. The working class suffered from pollution due to the increase in factories and mines. The air, the streets, and the local rivers were polluted. Homes didn't have proper sanitation systems or running water, and this would lead to people dumping their garbage out into the street. Sometimes the garbage would be disposed of into rivers, which would pollute waterways. Air pollution was caused by the burning of coal in factories and mines. Cities grew as a result of the Industrial Revolution, and people were often crowded into poorly built houses. Wealthy individuals would create houses for the working class by using inexpensive materials, in order to make a profit. Often these houses lacked running water, windows, and ventilation systems. Also, the lack of sanitation would lead to the spread of diseases. The market was unstable because it relied on supply and demand. This caused a boom and bust cycle. During the boom portion, the economy would grow, and there would be lots of employment opportunities. During the bust portion, people would lose their jobs, and investors would experience a loss of money. There was an increase in economic inequality, meaning that the distribution of wealth was unequal. Specifically, the Industrial Revolution had caused a separation between labor and capital. The wealthy profited off of the working class, and the working class received little to no benefits from this.